No one is allowed to get mad at me today because these are your answers, not mine. Today we're doing part 2 of a video I posted a few weeks back talking about brands in their flop eras maybe. And today I wanted to talk through some of the most commented on brands in that video. These are the brands that you think are in their flop era, and I'm gonna give you my opinion, whether I agree or I disagree. And I definitely have some thoughts. So I'm gonna leave part 1 linked down below since we won't repeat any of those brands, but let's jump in. There are a few that were mentioned that I was like, oh, I forgot that brand even existed, which I guess implies in itself that they likely are in a bit of a flop era. And you know what? Before we really talk about these brands, I will say I have a lot of optimism for many of these brands, though I disagree with some on the list for sure. But I have a lot of optimism for these brands and the ones we talked about in the last video because I really love a comeback moment. I think of even KVD, I think they're a really great example of this. Not that they're necessarily like thriving at the moment, but they were a brand that so many people thought was like doomed to close down. And they did a pivot. They did this like complete overhaul of the brand. And last year especially, they were so buzzed about. They were selling out. Products were going viral. And for a lot of these brands, like I'm optimistic for maybe like a KVD type revival, though some might argue KVD is kind of in a flop era currently. But anyways, I have hope for these brands, and the first one is Buxom. This was one I didn't even remember. This should have been in part 1 of the video, but I didn't even remember Buxom existed. I'm not kidding you. When I was prepping for this video, I was like, let me check if they're still sold on Ulta, because I just assumed that they had like maybe like pulled out of that retailer because I hear about that brand so infrequently. And I was like trying to come up with products that Buxom makes besides the lip glosses or like the full-on lip polishes. And I guess they have had some more popular blushes and bronzers over the years, but I would imagine they are mostly getting by on their lip products, and that would be my guess. And I think for a few other brands on this list, it's easy for us to watch them and think, okay, they're very underwhelming. They haven't launched anything exciting recently. But I think when they have these staple hero products that are almost necessary to repurchase pretty frequently, sometimes they can get by just on that. And that would be my assumption with Buxom. Do I think they've done anything interesting recently? No. Did I literally have to go onto Ulta and see if they were still sold there? Yes. But also, do I think they're probably doing fine just based on those lip glosses? Kind of, maybe. And a friend was telling me recently about a brand that has a very, very popular mascara. And she was saying that the brand sells more than half of their sales come from that one individual SKU of like just that one hero product. And I would imagine that's the case for a lot more brands than we think, where they have one product that is doing the bulk of the sales. And for Buxom, my guess is those lip polishes. And they're nice, but they're not that nice. I don't know. Do you have a favorite from Buxom? Should I make a purchase? Am I sleeping on this brand right now? Is there anything I need to buy? Let me know. The next one that I saw was Benefit, and this one was repeated a few times. And I don't know that I'm the best person to speak on the success or lack thereof of Benefit because I don't purchase from the brand since they're not cruelty free, but they also fit in that same category in my eyes where they're not necessarily launching anything new and exciting, but I think they're probably sustaining themselves with a lot of their like cult classic products that they've had for years that people still really love. Like the brow products, like the Bad Gal Bang mascara, the Hoola bronzer. Those are all products you go through. Speaking of go through, today I hit pan on my bronzer. Let me show you. It's always like bittersweet to hit pan, but my Fenty bronzer, I wear the shade Into Sun, and this is the most perfect bronzer ever for fair skin. I'm obsessed with it, and I finally hit pan today. And when I did hit pan, my heart sunk. Normally I get excited about hitting pan on a product, but this I never want to be without, and I'm like, no, not the pan. But where I'm going with that is bronzers get used up. Maybe not like the fastest, but I feel like if I had to categorize cheek products on the speed of a use up between like bronzer, blush, and highlight, I feel like we go through bronzer the fastest. Let me know down below. Are you speeding through blushes? Are you speeding through highlights? For me, not necessarily. It's bronzers that I'm actually using up. And I have seen that Hoola bronzer. I have seen so many people have giant pan in it, go out and repurchase it. Like that is a product that is being repurchased for sure. But when it comes to Benefit, they really, they refuse to give us anything new. It's like they know. They're like, could I make something new and innovative? Yes. But do I even need to? No. I think they're doing just fine on the products they've had forever. I could be totally wrong on that, but I genuinely cannot think of the last time where Benefit has launched something where I've thought, oh my gosh, that is so innovative. Good for them. That's so exciting. What a fun launch. And, take all of this with a grain of salt because, like I said, I don't watch out for Benefit. I don't purchase from them. So I'm not the best person to be speaking. Excuse me, bumped the mic. But I'm not the best person to be speaking on Benefit. But that's my interpretation. Let me know your thoughts. I think I do know your thoughts because a lot of people were commenting Benefit. This next one, I can't say I was entirely surprised, but I disagree, but I also kind of get it, okay? So a few people said Fenty. And this one, to an extent, makes sense because I can't say that they have the same status that they did years ago when they first launched. Fenty kind of like changed the game. Fenty really like broke the internet when they first launched. That brand was unstoppable. Like people were excited about those products and I can't say they have that same like steam behind them that they once did, but I wouldn't quite say they're like flopping or they've fallen off. I would just say they maybe don't have the same excitement that they used to. But what I like about Fenty, I feel like they are doing somewhat innovative things. Even if they're not necessarily like the number one trendsetters, I think they're giving us products that are a little bit different. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm thinking of last year when they launched the lip stains. We weren't seeing a ton of lip stains on the market, at least here. I feel like lip stains have been bigger, much longer in like K-beauty and J-beauty. So I'm not suggesting that Fenty like blew up that trend, but I do think they helped contribute to some of the hype. And currently with their new Stick foundation, I'm wondering if we will start seeing other high-end and even drugstore brands start giving us Stick foundations again. Sometimes like I look at, when I saw the Stick foundation launch, I was like, oh, that seems so random and late because those were so big maybe 8 years ago. And I feel like no one's doing Stick foundations right now. But then it has me wondering like, okay, well, is Fenty just on the top of the trend and everyone is going to pick up on it and we're going to start seeing more Stick foundations? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I like that they try to do something different. Like I said, sometimes it doesn't work. Do you remember when they did the clip-on Gloss Balm solid version that like you had to apply with your finger? But I'm still excited for Fenty. I would love to see them do like really fantastic single shadows or just like try palettes again, but maybe do them a little bit better, something very luxe. Like I could see that from the brand. Do you think Fenty's in their flop era? I don't think they are where they used to be, but I wouldn't say they're doing poorly. Okay, this next one, I have some thoughts and I almost put them in my original video, but I was like, no, I don't think so. The brand is Milk Makeup, okay? Funny enough, I almost feel a little bit bad for Milk because they had their hero product, the Hydro Grip. I feel like that product in particular, I can imagine was probably leading sales for the brand. And then e.l.f. basically like duped it exactly. And now I feel like no one really talks about Hydro Grip. And when they do, they more so talk about it as a dupe to the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I would imagine like e.l.f. took away a lot of sales from Milk Makeup. I don't know, I don't have the numbers, but that would be my guess. And I'm sure that's tough for a brand when you have this like hero product that's doing really well and then something either dupes it or something comes out that's even better that then becomes like a staple in that category for consumers. And do I think Milk still has like the same excitement that they did years ago? No. But also it does make me laugh because when I think of Milk, I feel like Milk Makeup walked, so Kosas, Tower 28, those type of brands that are huge right now, Milk walked so they could run. Like you can't tell me those aren't all the same brand in a different font. And I think Milk Makeup is kind of trying to have a comeback. Not that they've necessarily had this like major fall that they need to come back from, but I can tell that they're trying. When they relaunched their Stick products, I think that launch was so well executed with the very extensive shade range. Even their new powders I've been seeing a lot of buzz about, so I'm not gonna say they're in a flop era. I disagree on Fenty and I disagree on Milk. I don't think they're thriving. I don't think where they are, what are these words? I don't think they are where they used to be, but I don't think they're flopping. This next one, I think they went out of business. It's not fully clear though, so we're going to discuss Cargo. When someone mentioned that, I was like, oh my gosh, Cargo, that like unlocked memory for me. This is a brand I think of as a subscription box brand, if you know what I mean. There are certain brands that I just associate with BoxyCharm or Birchbox or Ipsy when those were all the rage. Like they had there's certain brands that, you know, you didn't really see people using unless they got them in these subscription boxes. That is what I think of with Cargo. And when I saw that name, I was like, wait, I have to look this up. Immediately, I was like, I need to know, are they still in business? I can't tell, but it appears that they're not. So the last post on their Instagram was 95 weeks ago. So if they are still around, they are incredibly inactive on social media. And they don't really have like a website or anywhere that you can purchase their products except through Walmart. I was seeing them listed on there, but I don't know if Walmart is like an authorized retailer of Cargo, because now Walmart is doing kind of like the Amazon thing where like third parties can sell through there. So sometimes I get a little weird about buying makeup on Walmart now that they started doing that, because I mean, it's one thing to buy it like in store when you know it's coming from the brand, but sometimes I'm like, how old is this product? Especially the stuff with Cargo, because I don't think they're really a brand anymore, but you're still seeing it sold on Walmart and they're not coming directly from that brand. So Cargo is definitely in their flop era. If they do still happen to be around somehow, they would definitely be in their flop era, but I think they have just slowly faded away. These next ones, these two I'm gonna wrap together because they were mentioned in the same comment, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect anyone would say these two brands. And I think these brands are often lumped together because though they're not necessarily that similar, it's the price points that are similar. And we're talking Natasha Denona and Pat McGrath. So I don't purchase from Pat McGrath because they're not cruelty free, but Natasha Denona I love. And with either brand, I can't say that they're flopping. These two shocked me. I was like, Pat McGrath and Natasha Denona. Again, I would categorize them the same way I would with Milk and Fenty. Do I think they're as exciting as they used to be? Not really. Do I think they're still at like the prestigious level that they once were? No. But do I look at these brands as like, oh my gosh, you gotta get it together, you guys are flopping? Absolutely not, no. Especially, I'm thinking Natasha Denona as of so recently with the I Need a Nude palette. That thing has been all over the internet. Everyone is like, this is the best palette, I love it. I've heard rave reviews on it. I know people are so excited about it. I don't feel like I saw the same excitement with the Yucca palette, but that is a bit unsurprising to me because the Yucca palette was more like green. It's colorful. I'm gonna put that in air quotes, it's not that colorful, but it wasn't as neutral, and naturally that's just not gonna be as widely appealing. So I understood why that one didn't get as much buzz, but especially with the I Need a Nude, I feel like I have heard just so many happy customers on that. I feel like with Pat McGrath, I know people don't love that a lot of the motherships have looked very, very similar, which I understand, especially at that price point. If you already own one, you're like, I want something different from a newer one. That being said, I don't know that I would describe either brand as flopping though, even though I'm like, there are a few things I would like to maybe see a little different, but I feel like they're doing fine. But let me know your thoughts because I'm very curious to hear. I also saw La Rock. This is another brand that I even had to check. I'm like, they're still at Ulta. I'm 99% sure, but yeah, they are. And this is a brand, I don't want to say this, I don't wish this on any brand, but this is a brand that if we saw the announcement like, we're closing down, I wouldn't be shocked. And I could be completely off base here. Maybe they are doing wonderfully. It's so hard to say because I genuinely believe there's a huge discrepancy between the brands that we really hype up and get excited about here in the beauty community and brands that just sell well at retailers like Ulta and Sephora and Macy's and whatnot. Like the average makeup consumer looks a lot different than someone in the beauty community specifically in terms of the brands they're purchasing from, even the brands that they're aware of. Like if I said to my mom, like some of these brands, like Natasha Denona, she wouldn't know what brand that is. She would know La Rock. And so I do think some of these brands, even if they're not launching anything so exciting, again, put in air quotes, because what does that even mean? But I think a lot of them still have that name recognition that a few of these other more newer brands don't necessarily have. This one I'm going to have to agree with, especially because years ago, Lorac was such a buzzed about brand on the internet, especially like their eyeshadows. They were like the talk of the town when they were launching a new eyeshadow palette. You were seeing reviews about it everywhere. And I can't say they carry that same excitement that they used to, though I do know they still have definitely a loyal following, but I can't say they're as exciting as a lot of the other more buzzed about brands of the moment. I have optimism for all these brands. I would love to see just like some viral products, new bestsellers, and who knows, maybe we will. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will go ahead and see you in my next one. Bye.